in the West stands, and the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
The Cuvee Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvee.
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar.
One, this is Dr. Kenyatta Cavil as we're doing a joint broadcast between Brian and AD and Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU SportsLab. With that, we have Dr. Charles McClelland, the Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, joining us to talk about today's events. As many of you all followed us yesterday, and really kicked off in a formal process in regards to the subcommittee of Board of Trustees at Florida A&M University voting unanimously 5-0 to push this to a board vote in regards to the athletic program at Florida A&M University moving from the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and seeking to join the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So with that part, we know that took place and it was unanimously voted by a proxy agenda vote in regards to carrying it through this morning from the Board of Trustees. And then we understood quickly that it started meaning that the Southwestern Athletic Conference needed to activate. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Charles McClelland, the current Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And if you would first tell us a little bit about what that process was like and the updated news that you can provide from us from an official standpoint.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on your show. And I know VP Gosha, I think he's still on. I would like to, address him. I think that he did an outstanding job. I got an opportunity to listen to the Special Committee on Athletics presentation yesterday. And I tell you, VP Gosha, you made me wanted to join the SWAC. And I'm already you did a heck of a job. So, it's an honor to have Florida A&M to even want to be a part of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but it's an even greater honor to look at, see, hear, and witness what you had to do, what your chairman had to do, what your president had to do in order to make this a reality. I'm telling this to you personally. I know Willie Shotgun Simmons. I know Willie well. I don't think I beat him yet in the sport of football. He actually was part of the reason why I became commissioner, because I couldn't beat him in football and they retired me out. We welcome you. This is going to be a great run, and I want to tell all of the Rattler Nation, you have joined the family. We're going to take care of you, and we're going to do everything that's within our power to make sure that your university is successful, meet all of your mission, your goals and objectives. And by the way, you're going to have packed stadiums and you're going to have a really good time. There's nothing like the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I might need to steal that from you guys, the Black SEC. But the only problem with that is we are the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So thank you, VP Gosha.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, and we are fired up and excited about this move. So we appreciate your leadership and looking forward to great things. Sure. And before you get off, I would just like to let you know we did have our Council of Presidents and Chancellors meeting at 4:30 Central. It concluded around 5:15 Central, and that vote was unanimous. 10-0 to accept Florida A&M as a full member in 2021 into the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So other than the agreement needs to be signed, it's official. Rattler Nation is a part of SWAC Nation. So I apologize for all of that, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That was a 5-minute rant, and I forgot your question.
No problem. I'll come back to it, and I think that was appropriate. And really, that was the question. What was the updated news? And you just provided it appropriately. So I thank you for sharing that, because that's what a lot of people wanted to know. What was the official stance? Colonel Clark gave us some breaking news in regards to getting it from his Board of Regents. And so we've heard it from the Florida A&M Board of Trustees side, and we just got it confirmed from the Commissioner of the SWAC in regards to that. So that was appropriate. With that, I'm going to allow Kofi to jump in here and ask you a follow-up question, and then we'll go to AD, and we'll keep this going to provide some updated, because there are some great questions that some of our followers want to ask you, but the panel is closing up on those questions as well. So Kofi, if you would, please chime in.
Yeah, my question is for both Coach Willie Simmons as well as Colonel Clark, and this is just in reference to a lot of the things COVID-19 has affected. Are there any plans with us going forward with any video conferences or video fundraising activities just to keep the momentum going, because this is a great time?
Well, from the Alumni Association standpoint of view, I mean, we're having to get creative, of course. As I told you earlier, we had to move our national convention to Orlando, Florida, but there's some business that we have to get done with our budget before submitting it to the Board of Trustees, and we're going to do something virtually like that July the 18th. But we're also coming into our membership year. So one of the things we're doing on the 27th is a big membership party featuring a couple of our top DJs within the Rattler Nation, and we're going to be doing membership drives around that. So people come in, have a good time, and pay your dues to the Alumni Association and listen to some music. So we are getting creative with this COVID. And I suppose that in the years to come that, we'll certainly look at these kind of things as cost savings mechanism to use Zoom. And my seasoned rattlers, it's almost funny to see them, but they're doing it. They're learning this social media stuff, and they're doing it. So yeah, we will see. We'll see. I think that was a great question, and we're going to continue to try to use technology as much as possible. And then going into, as we start to advertise for our football season, we certainly gonna use it a lot. So looking forward to it. We're gonna try to get the commissioner on with us with the Rattler Nation sometime, probably the end of this month. I'm putting him on the spot here, but he's gonna have to carve the time out to come see the nation. And we'll probably do that at the end of this month to introduce the Rattler Nation to our commissioner and hear his vision, and we'll bring the AD and the coach and everybody else on to do that. So we're going to continue to do that and continue to touch the people wherever they are. Great question.
This is Dr. Cavil, and I'm going to let Charles respond to that, because I know Charles that he wants to get in there. But this is Dr. Cavil with the AD SportsWrap show, joint show with Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington. Charles, if you would, please, Commissioner Charles, please respond to that.
Yeah, Colonel Clark, I didn't know you were on. First of all, it's good seeing you again.
Yes, sir. You too.
When you do that membership drive, add a Meet the Commissioner to it. Wherever it is, I'll be there. So
okay.
Put me in. And whatever you need, Zoom calls or whatever, I'm going to be there. And I appreciate all of your support. Never have I seen, such unity with an alumni association and a national alumni president. You take a lot of the credit as well of getting the Rattler Nation behind this move. And I want everyone to know the significant impact that you made, because it was significant. And without you and the alumni, I don't think this thing could have gotten done. So I would like to thank you as well.
Well, thank you so much. We certainly glad to do it. And you gave us a roadmap. And social media is going crazy right now. Everybody's quite happy in the move that we make, and they're looking forward to meeting you and hearing your vision, and they're good people. They're good people. So looking forward to seeing you.
I'm excited.
Okay.
With that, we'll follow up and let AD jump in with the next question, and then we'll have one with Mike.
Dr. McClelland, as a Rattler alumni, I want to thank you for allowing us to come into your neighborhood, first of all.
You're the one that started all of this stuff with that article you wrote. I recognize you. I've been meaning to talk to you. Go ahead. I'm going to let you answer your question.
Oh, I don't know if I want to thank you for that compliment or get mad at that compliment. Cause anyway, but all seriousness aside, Doc, right? You know, the SWAC has led the FCS in attendance for, and I'm not even going to misquote you, but as long as probably everybody can remember, you know, I think there's only been 1 year in like the last 40 years where the SWAC has not led the FCS in attendance. Currently, last year, you had 3 of the top 7 and 6 of the top 30 in attendance. You're adding a Florida A&M who finished number 10, and probably if it were not for that hurricane game that forced their game to get moved from a Saturday to a Sunday, would have been higher up in that top 10. What does a FAMU coming to the SWAC mean for the SWAC brand, and especially when it comes to attendance and future marketing? What does that really mean to the conference? Can you quantify that for us or qualify that for us a little bit further?
Yes, we hit the lottery, quite simply. If you had to draw up a school that you wanted within our geographical footprint with the same academic mission, with similar athletic budgets, with the same footprint of history, tradition, and culture, you would have had to draw up Florida A&M, you know, basically from scratch. And I'm saying I don't think that you could have drawn it up as good as Florida A&M if you were trying to draw that up. And that's why I said we hit the lottery. You know, I've been commissioner for 2 years, and coming in as the Southwestern Athletic Conference, I've said this, and I've heard Dr. Cavil say it on your show and his show. We were not necessarily in the mode of looking to expand. What we were trying to do was to get our house in order, right? We wanted to make sure that we increased sponsorships. We wanted to make sure that we got us a permanent home. We are 100 years old this year, so there are a lot of check marks that we had to make. We're working on APR, we're working on fundraising, we're working on budget, we're working on deals, we're working on branding. And all of a sudden, here come your dream institution to add, Florida A&M, saying, hey, is it a possibility for you to take a look at us, and is it a possibility for us to take a look at you? And it was a resounding yes. I know that there's been a lot of written. I know you wrote your article. I was not sure that this was going to happen until 12:45 Central Standard Time on today. So this is a dream come true for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I think that we are a natural fit. If Florida A&M was looking for somewhere to go, there was no other place for them to go but to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And I got this from your resident historian, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, 42 of the last 43 years, but the only year we did not lead was Hurricane Katrina year. So had it not been for Hurricane Katrina, it would be 43 out of 43. So you're talking average attendance of 20,000. You're talking Jackson State upward of 33,000 per game. So can you imagine, I know you said the SEC of black college football, but can you imagine being a football coach in the Southwestern Athletic Conference right now? You're going to have to bring your A game, and it's not going to be an easy week because it is so competitive now. So when you start talking about building a conference to the point to where you want to start doing some things greater than what you can imagine, it starts with bringing in an institution like Florida A&M. So again, we hit the lottery, and we're just as excited about having Florida A&M as Florida A&M is excited about being in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Mike, please jump in there and ask your follow-up question.
Yes, Dr. McClelland. With this move, and I'll ask a similar question to VP Gosha. The cat's out the bag now. Everyone is excited. You know, you heard social media is going crazy. Now, from your perspective, the SWAC, at the SWAC conference, what are the next 3 or 4 critical, strategic, and prioritized steps to pave the way for a smooth transition? Obviously, we have to get through the 2020 season with COVID-19, but to me, what's critical in paving that way for a smooth transition? Is it realignment considerations? Is it others? Prioritize them, if you will.
Mike, that's that Prairie View A&M University education coming out in an indirect way to ask me, are we looking for a team? So I'm gonna go on and answer your question. Again, we did not necessarily position ourselves for expansion. Florida A&M has come into our league, and it is a remarkable catch for us. Ideally, in order to sustain divisions, you have to have that 12th team. So we are now eyes wide open for that 12th team. But let me be absolutely clear about this point. We are not going to expand for the sake of expanding. There is a pathway to have 11 teams. And I've seen some of the debates on a lot of the social media. Do you have an uneven division? Do you have an uneven division and then you swap that team every other year? So the East has 6 in one year and the West has 6 in the other year. I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I can tell you the model that I personally have been studying the most, and that is the old Big Ten model and the current Big 12 model, where you'll have 11 teams. We still will maintain our 8-game format. So that will allow teams to be able to play 8 conference games, and you will still have 2 conference teams that you don't play. So coming into 2020 season, it's 8 games, and then you have 1 team that will rotate off of your schedule for 2 years. We still will maintain that 8-game schedule if we have 10 teams, 11 teams, 12 teams, 20 teams. We're going to have that 8 game. So you could rotate on and off. Another major consideration for us was a consideration for FAMU. We don't want Texas having to come to Florida twice a year for all of their sports. So we're going to have to look at some divisional play, not just in football, but in most of our other sports. When it comes to basketball, with 11 teams in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, do we go from 18 games or to 20 games? When you start looking at the current format for NCAA, and I know you've talked a lot about the multi-team events and the NCAA has the new legislation, a lot of facts behind the MTE is if we eliminated MTEs, then the mid-major institutions would not have a great opportunity to be able to play on a neutral site some schools that they could possibly beat. It's going to be impossible to go in a game guarantee and win. You'll win one every now and then. The best probability is to play on a neutral court and get some of those teams that you probably could beat. Not necessarily a mid-major, but a lower high major. You can't get that in the MTE. The reason why you see the mid-major teams going against or rallying against MTEs is because you take that opportunity away, and all of the Autonomy 5 institutions are moving from 18 games to 20 games. So if they move from 18 games to 20 games and take away the MTEs, there are no games for us, the mid-majors, to play. I say all of that to say, from a SWAC's perspective, do we want to stay at 18 or do we want to go to 20? Those are going to be some key decisions that we have to make. But from a scheduling standpoint, there are models out there that we will continue to look at, and we're going to do the best thing for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But I want to go back to your original indirect question. 12 is the ideal number, but we don't have to get to 12. We can stay at 11, but 12 is the ideal number. So we are open to listening, which is probably not the position that we took just 6 months ago. But now we realize that in order for us to be able to fulfill what we need to fulfill, especially from a travel perspective, it makes sense to bring in a 12th team. It makes sense to have a geographical footprint where you have even numbers in the East and even numbers in the West. Possibly use the Mississippi River as a dividing line, and you have the East play the East and the West play the West. And then you have some crossover. You have Mississippi Valley State at that line. You have Jackson at that line. You have Alcorn at that line. You have Southern at that line. And for all practical purposes, you have Grambling at that line. So you have 5 teams that you theoretically could play in other divisions that are 3 hours drive from each other. So there are a lot of possibilities, but to me, they're all exciting possibilities. I haven't been faced with a challenging problem yet that says, oh, this is going to destroy. All of the issues that I'm seeing right now are issues to say we got to make the right call because if we make the right call, it's going to blow this thing up. So I'm really excited to be a commissioner, to be in this situation, to have to make these calls. I'm excited. I hope I answered your indirect question.
Yes, you indirectly answered. No, in all seriousness, thank you very much for that answer, and thank you for being forthcoming. I appreciate that.
No problem.
We always see that coming from Mike with those types of questions that go into the data. With that, this is Dr. Cavil, Kenyatta Cavil, with a joint production of SportsWrap of Brian and AD, as well as Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. With that, we're going to let Charles follow up with his question for the Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Dr. Charles McClelland.
Yes, Dr. McClelland. Obviously, Florida A&M, a national brand, tremendous history. But I wanted to ask this question for the Florida A&M fan who's basically grown up a MEAC fan. What are they getting now with the Southwestern Athletic Conference, especially the initiatives that you brought in place over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I appreciate that question coming from a Jackson State Tiger as well. and I will start with that. You know, I heard a lot of the students of FAMU because they had that experience at Southern University, right? But when you start talking about some of the initiatives that we put in, I'm going to put a pause there and just think about being able to go in that environment at Southern, and then the next week you have to go in the environment at Jackson State, right? Mm-hmm. And could you imagine a FAMU Jackson State football game that's actually a conference game to decide who gets to go to the SWAC championship, right? Yeah. Can you imagine a Florida A&M game at Grambling, or a Grambling game at Florida A&M that decides who gets to go to the SWAC championship? And you can say that at Alabama State, you can say that at Alabama A&M, and let's not take away from Texas. Florida A&M has a very large alumni base in the state of Texas. Yeah. This allows Florida to recruit Texas as well as Texas now can recruit Florida. I heard some comments from Florida A&M talking about now this puts us in Alabama. It's great football in Alabama, right? This just closes our footprint. So when you start talking about our initiatives start there, bringing a quality product to our constituents. And I think that has to energize the FAMU nation, knowing that you can take their world-renowned band, right, and you can now go week to week, even in a stone's throw to at least 6 of our institutions, right, that you could drive, do your thing, and if you need to, come on back. I heard the SGA president talk about that. You know, our ability to be able to get that cultural experience. And let's make no mistake about it. You guys joked about it. This does make us a league that is extremely strong. This makes us a league that has a lot of prominent athletic programs, not just from a football's perspective. Just look at what FAMU is going to add to men and women's basketball. Look at what they're going to add in baseball, softball, soccer. It's not, not soccer, but track. I mean, they're going to be able to add a significant piece of competitiveness to the Southwestern Athletic Conference that their fan base is going to be able to touch. And let's not, forget that the SWAC does have a relationship with Atlanta. FAMU has been looking to get in Atlanta, right? So Mayor Keisha Bottoms, a FAMU graduate, we got to send her a hat, right? We got to send her a SWAC hat. I mean, we're going to draw a circle around this thing, and from a strategic standpoint, we got some plans. We talked about the deal with CityJet. We talked about our ability to be able to do some different things with our corporate sponsors. We talked about sharing corporate sponsors, giving our schools the ability to have the autonomy to do some of the things that they need to do with, let's say, with their apparel and some of their significant rights. But, one of the things that I thought about, Charles, and you talk about some things that get FAMU excited. I'm not just thinking about FAMU, but the entire thing. Look at these Battle of the Bands, right? And the Honda Battle of the Bands, the 50 and 60,000 people in there, and the Battle of the Bands that's in Houston that had 30 or 40,000. Well, you're trying to tell me I got Florida A&M, I got Alabama State, I got Alabama A&M, I got Jackson State, the Boom. I got Alcorn, the Sounds of Dynamite, right? I got Southern. I got Grambling. Grambling really one of the only bands that have even had their own TV show and Coke commercial, right? They still have a Coke commercial. They had a Coke commercial when I was a kid that I used to watch. I don't understand how they do that, right? And then you go Mississippi Valley State, you know, playing that Devil's Gun. And then Arkansas at Pine Bluff has an outstanding band, Texas Southern Prairie View. I take those 11 bands, put them in a dome, I'm selling the thing out, right? We keep the money. Why am I going to give it to a third party? I have the greatest assets at my hand now. What we have to do is strategically think on how we can leverage our assets and put that money back into the hands of our member institutions. And I would say this, and I've said it publicly, we have identified over the last 2 years what it takes to run the Southwestern Athletic Conference. The rest of that is going to go back to the member institutions. So as we did, for example, with one of our major sponsors, cricket. As an athletics director, I always had issue with the Southwestern Athletic Conference taking all of my rights, right? I had rights. I had an insurance company. I lost them because SWAC had an insurance. I wanted my own apparel deal. I wanted my own. My philosophy is I can still get conference-wide deals and allow you to keep your brand, keep your deals. You look at cricket, one of our major sponsors. Cricket showed up to every campus. Each campus had an opportunity to keep their right at that category. And because they allowed cricket to come in and set up in the tailgates, we took money from the check that we got from cricket and we're sending it directly to every 10-member institution, right? So we're creating these deals because we know that we have assets to sell, but we're not going to take the rights of the institution. We're going to deliver that money back to the school. So we're trying to come up with new models, financial models, because this SWAC championship game that has allowed us to really get this energy and excitement and give that money back to the schools. That was the model that we wanted to find and perfect. Innovative ways to put significant revenue back into the hands of the schools. So FAMU, you should be excited. That philosophy isn't going to change. And very clearly, you are going to enhance our ability to be able to go out and do such things.
Certainly, again, this is Dr. Kenyatta Cavil with a joint project with BCSN in terms of the SportsWrap with Brian and AD, and Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU SportsLab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. With that, we have many of our guests on here. I want to make sure that we get everybody in here. Again, Colonel Greg Clark, National Alumni Association for Florida A&M University President. We had VP of Athletic, Kortne Gosha, on. He had to jump off. We also had head football coach, Willie Simmons, on. But currently now we have the Southwestern Athletic Conference Commissioner, Dr. Charles McClelland, as he's filling our questions. We have a question that's going to go to Cuvee, and then we're going to go back to Brian. But before we do that, there was a question up there in regards to the MTE terminology. That is a NCAA terminology that Charles was using, Dr. McClelland, excuse me. Multi-team event. Legislation would allow Division I schools to schedule up to 28 regular season games and participate in one multi-team event that includes up to 3 games, scheduling 29 regular season games and multi-team events that includes up to 2 games, or scheduling 29 games without participating. So listeners out there following us and jumping on. And with that, before I go back to Kofi to allow him with his question, I did want to get in a couple of these questions that are coming in from our fans out there to make sure we keep them engaged and that we are following. So if you would, the first question, Colonel Clark gave us some insight in terms of some of the dialogue that took place, and gave us a sneak peek, if you would, in regards to the strategic plan. And I know you have talked about this to some framework, obviously, Dr. McClelland, but of that plan, what components or parts of that plan in terms of long-term vision, I should say, are you able to share with us? Because that's a question that Irvin Lorenzo wanted to hear out there.
That's a great question, and I'm gonna try to tread on this lightly because a lot of it will take some legislation. I've always been open and honest, and if it gets me in trouble, I guess it just gets me in trouble. But I foresee us with the potential of trying to look at a Black College FBS conference, right? When you start looking at the branding that we have and the size of crowds, the economic impact that we make to these cities, and this is a long-range plan. This is going to take approval by conference commissioners, NCAA. There's a lot that we have to do, but my vision is a strong Black college conference that participates in the FBS realm. And when we say FBS, does that mean that we have to go play, other FBS schools? We have enough teams in our league to where we play our own game. We're playing game guarantees now, but the difference between a game guarantee as an FCS institution, especially in the SWAC, is on the high end, 600,000. But if we change that to become FBS, which is football bowl subdivision, which means you go from 63 scholarships to 85 scholarships, that game guarantee now is 1.2, 1.5 million. When you start looking at television contracts, you're now in the millions, right? So we take those millions and we give it back to our 11 member institutions to help them raise their scholarship levels from 63 to 85. And now we participate in bowl games. It's not just Celebration Bowl. We still participate in the Celebration Bowl, and now we can go participate in other bowls. So the long-range strategic plan is for us to continue to strengthen our league to the point that we as an 11-member conference can all together make that leap. And I want to say this very clearly. I don't want to turn it into a military terminology, but we're not going to leave anybody behind. We are unified as a conference. And I say, if anybody in the Southwestern Athletic Conference should have been put out, it was Prairie View A&M University, the charter member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And for those of you that don't know, I am a graduate of Prairie View, and I was the athletics director at Prairie View. We lost 86, maybe I had that number wrong, 85, 86 football games in a row, right? We still hold that record. We hold the record for the most consecutive basketball losses. We had the lowest budget in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And if Prairie View can go from 86 straight football losses to where they are now as one of the perennial Black college schools, then nobody should be left behind. If the Southwestern Athletic Conference gave Prairie View every opportunity, and Prairie View stuck with the Southwestern Athletic Conference when Prairie View was a powerhouse and the SWAC stuck with Prairie View, we're not going to leave anybody behind. So I also want to put that on the record as well. There is a pathway for all of our institutions to make that from the transition of where we are now to ultimately to where we want to go. But that's globally. I think more from a immediate standpoint, capitalize on the brand and the marketing. We have some work to do in that regard. We have to shore up, some of our multimedia contracts. We would like to see some additional flexibility. I think ESPN is a great partner of ours, but I've always said I would like for ESPN to take the games that they want to show and then give me the rest of the games for me to be able to go out and sell in other markets. So there's some work to do there. But again, when you do the right things, when you bring in a FAMU, when you have all of these things going for you, you take bargaining power to the table. FAMU just added another huge bargaining chip when we go back to the tables of all of these entities to try to create these deals for our conference.
Certainly, and I think you broke into Dwight Moore's part of his question, so we were able to answer that in terms of that. So we'll break in back and forth as we have some of the people streaming and asking questions. With that, I want to get back, and Kofi had a question that he wanted to jump in and ask you as well.
Yes, Commissioner, I know that you all talked about that Prairie View education and a number of different things and how Prairie View people have a tendency to lead into questions. At FAMU, we're taught to ask direct questions.
There you go.
So I want to ask, how close with the dream scenario possibly being a Tennessee State or possibly even Bethune, what's the reality with that possibly happening, and what would it take for that to happen? And I guess is there a real possibility that could happen?
I don't know. I have not talked to the administration at Bethune-Cookman, nor have I talked to the administration at Tennessee State. My hope is, Kofi, that entities will look at the Southwestern Athletic Conference now and say, hey, that's a league in which we need to be a part of. That's a league in which we can make money from a fan standpoint. That's a league that we can make money from a branding standpoint. And that's a league that we can go in and compete and have the opportunity to win championships and go to the NCAA. So I know that has been the hot topic debate, who's going to be the 12th team. We haven't even started that process yet, and I want to be extremely clear about that. I even heard something out there, this will be breaking on your show. Y'all getting a lot of breaking information. I saw it.
Don't break it.
That we've extended an invitation to South Carolina State. We've never talked to South Carolina State. I know Stacy from being an athletic director at Alabama State. Last time I talked to Stacy was at the NCAA National Convention in January. So none of that is true.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Before they jump into that one, as you were talking about the bands.
At this point, we're kind of savoring this Florida A&M. I would like to crack a bottle of wine tonight and drink it with my wife before we start talking about 12th member and expansion. First things first. And to be very honest,
we had to get that in.
But I do want to dispel a lot of the misinformation.
Yes, sir.
We have not extended invitations. We have not sought after anybody to join the SWAC. When this opportunity came, when VP Gosha reached out, when I had opportunity to talk to Colonel Clark, when I had opportunity to talk to Chairman Lawson, we were taking this thing step by step. Again, I was not 100% confident because I know how these things go. FAMU said, hey, if we wanted to come to the SWAC, would you be willing to accept? My answer to them was, who would not, right? Who wouldn't want FAMU? I allowed that, and if you know anything about me, you know that I do not put the cart before the horse, and I don't count my chickens before they hatch. And I say that because I have done that before, and I've gotten my feelings hurt. So I understand that there is a right way to do things, and we try to do them the right way at all times.
Certainly with that, I think we had Brian that wanted a follow-up question, but before we have Brian ready to jump in here, wanted to give some more shout-outs for those that are following us. Willie Alex Hines, he jumps in there, and he kind of had that question about Tennessee State, so I'm glad you answered that. Dwight Moore, Marching 100. Belinda Johnson, we are ready to provide the smoke. So we know we talking about those Alcorn Braves down there as they get excited and get it going. Anthony Weston wanted to make sure that y'all understand that you still got to come to Huntsville, Alabama, in terms of Alabama A&M, and they plan to be back in the football business and basketball as well. Giving a little shout out there. We have Carlos representing Southern University checking us out today with his great show that he does every Saturday from the 10 to 12 in terms of Carlos Brown show. So just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of folks that are following us and that have stick with us, die-hard fans, true fans. We getting FAMU, Rattlers getting on board, North Carolina A&T Aggies are out there, and we know how that goes in that rivalry. So we'll have another part to be able to poke a little more at the stick at the Aggies, since the Florida A&M is part of the SWAC rivalry. So we'll make sure we do our part to let them know how we feel about these Aggies now, and we'll continue to push that envelope as well in regards to let them know that we're not playing around with Tennessee State Tigers. They need to figure out what they want to do if they want to be a part of this team going forward. With that, officially, let me do that kind of trash talking for my commissioner so he can do what he's supposed to do on the business side and don't have to do it. Brian, if you would jump in here and get me out of this trouble that I might find myself in with my Commissioner Dr. Charles McClelland, please. Thank you.
I got you, Dr. Bill. Dr. McClelland, thank you again for coming on and joining us. It's been I'm sure it's been a whirlwind 48 hours, not only just for you, but as well as Rattler Nation as well. My question, over the last couple of years, 4 or 5 years, we've seen the growth of, I think, of Division I FCS Black College athletics through events like the MEAC SWAC Challenge as well as the Celebration Bowl. And this move, as great as it is for Florida A&M and the SWAC, we'd have to say that after 2020, things will change. And so I'm wondering if you can maybe speak on your thoughts as you think about what potentially might change in terms of the postseason bowl, the Celebration Bowl, the beginning of the year contest between the MEAC and SWAC. Maybe just your thoughts on the change that is going to occur in Black college football, with not only FAMU leaving, but of course North Carolina A&T will be leaving the MEAC, and then of course we've seen recently, Hampton having left the MEAC as well.
Well, first of all, let me say, Commissioner Thomas is a great commissioner. He accepted me in when I became commissioner. He's mentored me, and one of the things that I wanted to make sure is that I handled this thing correctly. I got no great pleasure in the fact that Florida A&M was in the MEAC and they wanted to leave, and they decided that SWAC was the place that they wanted to be. I've had several conversations with Commissioner. I know he's disappointed, and I know he's probably angry at me for accepting. I do have a board as well, and they tell me what to do sometimes, but I have the utmost confidence in Commissioner Thomas, and let's make no mistake about it. I know him well. He has a plan. I don't foresee the MEAC going anywhere. I foresee him aggressively bringing membership back to the point to where the MEAC have the number of teams that they had previously. I think when you look at through the historical perspective of all conferences, teams come, teams go, right? That's what happens. But strong commissioners such as Dr. Dennis Thomas always does the right thing to keep that league moving forward. So I have no question in my mind that there will be a SWAC MEAC challenge. I heard you say MEAC SWAC challenge, SWAC MEAC challenge. Because SWAC is always first, because you said we were the Black SEC, so you got to start putting SWAC first. SWAC MEAC challenge.
That's right. My apologies.
Right, there you go. The official name is MEAC SWAC, but I'm a SWAC guy. I always have to put SWAC first. So I have no doubt that it's not only going to stay, but it's going to continue to get stronger. And quite frankly, I think the rivalries are going to get a little bit more interested now that there have been some league change. So I'm very confident. As a matter of fact, we are in the process of negotiating with ESPN to extend the MEAC SWAC challenge. So I think that the interest is still there. The interest is still great. And I have the utmost respect for Dr. Dennis Thomas and the utmost confidence that he's going to make all of the right strategic moves in order for MEAC to continue to be a dominant player in Division I athletics.
Thank you for that, Charles. With that, I wanted to be respectful of everybody's time. We did that. I know, Colonel Clark, that you've been patiently with us, and I know you've had a chance to talk with Dr. McClelland. But I wanted to make sure if there was a follow-up question that you might happen that you wanted to get in here and ask, Charles. If you didn't, we understand that. And after that, whether you do or not, we'll jump into AD to get in a follow-up question, if you would.
Yeah, and I have about 5 minutes there, Dr. Kenyatta-Cavil.
Thank you. So with that, AD, let's go ahead and allow you to ask this final question with Dr. Charles. We want to be respectful of his time. I think we have Coach Simmons back in here so we can follow up with some questions with Coach Simmons as we didn't get to a great deal of dialogue, and then I'll turn it back over to Brian if he wants to lead that part of the format as we're all here. But with that final question, let's do it this way. Charles, if you would, summarize what this means, and then we'll have a chance to follow up with some additional questions and get some independent. But with your time being limited, and you've been so gracious with your time, let's give you the platform to close this the way that I know you always will and do, but just give you this platform to put out there where we as fans, first of all, presidents of National Alumni Association, of the media component that support HBCU sports, particularly the SWAC, our presidents, our athletic directors, VPs of athletics. Where do we need to synergize in allowing you to put this conference, Southwestern Athletic Conference, 100 years celebration? Obviously, COVID ripped our ability to celebrate the way we wanted to, but I guess there is a silver lining in that. Look what the gift, if you allow me to use this, the gift of God has brought to us in this strange time. Obviously, with all the things that we're dealing with Mr. Floyd in regards to how that is changing our environments, but how do we understand our role in supporting this great conference, these great institutions, and moving forward? I know that was long, but I wanted to do it appropriately since you're about to close now.
I think our role is significant, and I think we have to lead the charge, especially when you're talking about the political unrest. I think all of us probably have stories of being stopped by the police and, having negative circumstances. I have two boys, and I've taught them to be respectful, but stand up for yourself, right? I'm really afraid as to, this environment that we're in, but I also see a lot of change that is happening because of Mr. Floyd's death. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we've all come together, and I think the Southwestern Athletic Conference has to be a leader in that effort. I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and it started about, the racial impact of police and African Americans. And I led to, not only is it race, it is more social economic at this point, or as much social economic as it is race. When you look at the system that is set up, the system doesn't allow us to be able to get the things that other privileged families have gotten. I even talk about, and I'll throw this to Colonel Clark, when you start talking about alumni donations, and we talk about, well, we don't give like we're supposed to give. We don't have that generational wealth. At best, we are 3-generation college educated. That means me, my father, and my father's father. Well, unfortunately for me, I'm only 2 generations, right? We haven't had that opportunity to get that generational wealth. Mr. Floyd was in an area to which they targeted him, right? From a social economic standpoint, others have the ability to be able to rise up out of those types of environments and don't necessarily have to deal with a day-to-day basis. If you're in a lower socioeconomic area, the hood, the ghetto, the project, most of them have police stations in the middle of that project, right? You don't see police stations in the middle of River Oaks, in Houston, Texas, in the middle of the neighborhood. I say all of that to say, we now, the 11 institutions, have a great responsibility, but the greatest opportunity to get these African-American, minority, first-generation, second-generation students into our member institutions, educate them on how to fight this oppression the right way, educate them on how to make change the right way, and equip them with all of the tools that they need to do it. That's our responsibility. Athletics is just a window in which our entire institution will be able to do that. You're talking about 11 institutions now with a student population of about 40, 50,000, alumni population probably 2 to 3 million. We need to unite all of those. We're going to have a strategic plan to unite all of those, and we are going to be the beacon. We are going to be the leaders, because I am firmly in the belief the time for change is now, and we have a platform to do so.
Thank you, Dr. Charles McClelland, the Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I think that's the perfect way to segue as we close out on your interview in this chapter, brought to you at this joint venture of BCSN with the SportsWrap with Brian and AD, and Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU SportsLab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Again, thank you, Charles McClelland, for your time, and we look forward to talking with you more as we continue to move the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I know all the individuals on this platform support what is moving forward. It is dynamic, it is changing, and we're going to do this in regards to not just the SWAC, but as well as the MEAC in all HBCUs. That includes the SIC, CIAA, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, about doing our part in supporting these institutions, because we know the historical background and what they stand for and how it is generational change in terms of doing it in a academic and educational, in some ways, athletic format. So thank you for your time again, Charles, and we bid you adieu, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Colonel
Certainly.
Clark,
With Brian, I know we are probably up for a break and ready to take a time out.
Well, Doc, hold on. Before we get to that, we're going to let Colonel Clark get his final comments in. I think he may have had something he wanted to say before Commissioner McClelland left, if he has a couple of more seconds.
Absolutely.
Certainly. Sorry about that, Brother Colonel Clark. Please jump in.
Not a problem, Dr. Cavil. Appreciate that.
What is all of that you guys are doing on camera?
Say, man, don't start nothing up there, man. You know what comes first. You know that light.
I got you.
So I hit on this a little bit in the initial segment, but I'm gonna take what the commissioner said. One of the things that I'm gonna pledge that the FAMU National Alumni Association is gonna do to help elevate the status of the alumni associations in the SWAC for the 2 years that I got left in this position. We do some things and we do them well. Governmental affairs, for instance, we have a network, a lobbying network like none other. There's some common ground in the governmental affairs space, where especially for our land grant schools, where we can come together to ensure that we're getting the necessary funds from the government around that. I mean, you got 2 FAMU grads that's on that agriculture committee up there in Washington, who is going to make sure that our 1890 land grant schools get its just due. But in a lot of cases in that space, we're getting our just due from the federal government, but there are some pieces in place where the state is not matching those dollars. Okay, so we need to talk about that, and I need to make sure, that these alumni associations are understanding that, because they got to do a lot of this to try to help their presidents, because we're out there. Student recruitment. We continue to recruit over half the freshman class that come into FAMU year after year. It's a machine. It has worked for years and years and years. I'll be, looking at how do we help our presidents with student recruitment. We got a limited number of people that we can touch. That's full-time employees in that area. But we, the alumni, are the biggest ambassadors, and we need to drive our people into our HBCUs. And then the relationship we have with fundraising around our foundation. Our foundation board and our boosters and our National Alumni Association is lockstep. And one thing I love about our president is he includes us at the table when these decisions are made. And so it helps us help him move the narrative. One of the challenges I would say to the commissioner is we need to make sure that the presidents are accepting of their alumni associations, and we need to make sure that alumni associations are accepting of the president. Our jobs are not to run the university. We're there to be a direct support organization of the university, and we should do that. But we've got to make sure we elevate that part of it, because there's some common ground here where I think we can roll over and recruit some students. Because one thing is we don't go out to 5-star guys, but I think that we can start to get some of these guys now. Because one thing we got is Big Mama still loves her HBCUs, and that's Big Mama. Big Mama said go to Grambling or FAMU. You gotta end there. But I want to say that that's my commitment to this conference, and my board's commitments to this conference is to help elevate the importance of the Alumni Association. And my friend down at Southern, they're doing a heck of a job inside of their Alumni Association. So, that's where we're going to go, Commissioner. We just need your support and backing, and we're going to try to elevate our association so that we can drive really drive the narrative to help grow this conference as a whole. So that was my comments, and I support you.
That sounds good, and I appreciate that, Colonel Clark. You might as well make the announcement of the newly formed committee that you're chair of as well.
Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you, sometimes I open my mouth too much, and he go ahead and make you the darn chair of a Distinguished Alumni Award ceremony, and we need to do it because we do it in the MEAC. We honor distinguished alumni. Actually, it's during the basketball tournament, but yeah, of course, the commissioner said let's do it during the SWAC championship. It gives the alumni presidents an opportunity to nominate somebody to be the distinguished alumni awardee of the SWAC, and of course, with that awardee comes money. It's not a freebie, and so we want to look at doing that. So for all the alumni presidents in the SWAC, get ready. We're gonna be calling you, because you're going to sit on the committee. The commission has already said that. So thank you, Doc.
I love it. Challenge made by the commissioner, challenge accepted by the president of National Alumni Association. Let's go. Let's get it done. With that, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you to give you some more on this breaking news and exciting day with Florida A&M University, better known as the FAMU Rattlers, have joined Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC. Look for more further details on what is transpiring and what's next. Thank you.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Aves' record. 202 and 36, I think. Some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
The Cuvee Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvee.
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
For my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching, hey, 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 motivation.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Aves' record. 202 and 36, I think. Some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine. It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
All right, welcome back to this this reaction show on a day, an historic day, and Black college athletics, and especially for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, as well as Florida A&M University. As earlier this morning or early afternoon, Florida A&M Board of Trustees approved the proposed move for FAMU moving from the MEAC to the SWAC, and then a little later this afternoon, by unanimous vote, the Southwestern Athletic Conference presidents voted to accept Florida A&M as the 11th member of the conference. It's been a great day. You're watching a joint project here between the Black College Sports Network and Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU SportsLab. Not only have you have Doc there, who's wearing his FAMU hat and SWAC hats, you got Charles Bishop, Mike Washington, AD Drew's been here. We had Kofi as well, Kofi Hemingway. Joining us right now, we have Coach Willie Simmons. He is back with us. He is, gracious with his time on such a big day. And so we're going to get right into it here in this final 15 minutes. So if you're watching us on Facebook, get those questions in, and we'll do our best here in this final 15 minutes of the show. I'm going to turn it over to AD Drew. AD, you got some questions for Coach Simmons.
Yeah, and what we're going to do right here, Coach Simmons, we're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire, 1, 2, 3 word answers to a couple of questions. And I know everybody's wants to ask these questions, and I know I've got these in my mind. So with that, we're going to get started. When you go back to the SWAC in 2 years, what venue are you looking forward to most playing in?
Bragg Stadium, our own, against SWAC opponents.
On the road. Let me rephrase that. You got me on that one.
Well, obviously, two come to mind, and those are the two institutions I was a part of. So, Alcorn State, obviously, I spent 3 years there from 2012 to 14, and then Florida A&M, where I got my first head coaching opportunity from 2015 to 17. So, those will be the two venues that I'm most looking forward to going back to.
What was the toughest venue, where the crowd talked the most trash, you got to walk through the crowd, the toughest venue to play in when you were in the SWAC?
Oh, there's so many. It's hard to pick one, but if I had to say the most hostile environment, it's probably the Southern, just because of the setup, where you get dressed, and then where you have to walk through the crowd to get to the stadium. So Southern's probably the most intimidating venue that we played in.
All right, now we're going to flip that to your current conference in the MEAC. You've done your one around in the MEAC. What has been the toughest venue for you to play in the MEAC on the road?
Probably South Carolina State. Obviously, I only, we went there this past year, and there was a lot around the game. Buddy Pugh was going for the all-time winning record there, surpassing legendary coach there. So that was probably the toughest venue that we played in. And then obviously A&T was also a tough one, and we'll go back there this year. So I'd say A&T and South Carolina State.
What are you going to miss most about the MEAC?
I guess going to DC. Obviously, one thing I do with my team is every time we travel, I try to take them somewhere educational. So to get an experience, and we were able to go to the Smithsonian Museum 2 years ago. We went to DC, and that was very impactful for our student athletes. So probably just being able to go back to DC, Baltimore, some historical places with a lot of rich history.
Outside of the travel, what are you going to miss least about the MEAC?
That's it. That's it. Some long trips, man. I mean, the 13, 14, 15-hour bus rides, getting up at 6 a.m. to try to get to the airport in time. So those long bus rides and long trips are what I miss the most. What I miss the least, matter of fact.
What are you looking for with your shift in recruiting now that you may have those opportunities?
I'll get back into Texas. I think there's an opportunity now for us to get back in Texas with our footprint. We have a huge alumni association there in Houston, also another one there in Dallas. And so we get calls all the time about recruiting young men out there. We have a lot of contacts from my years as the head coach at Prairie View A&M. So probably been able to get back into Dallas and even Louisiana, down in New Orleans where we have, pretty good fan base, alumni base down there as well.
All right. Last question, then I'm going to turn it over to somebody else. Give me your 30-second elevator speech that you would sell to a kid and their parent to get them to come to FAMU.
Well, you get the best of both worlds. Obviously, when you're a student athlete, you look at both components. The student side, Florida A&M has been the top public HBCU in the country for a very long time, and our academic ranking is as strong as ever. And so you come here, get a quality education, top-notch education, one that will take you very far in life. And then from an athletic standpoint, our football team is doing tremendous things right now. 9-2 last season. BCSN Black College National Champs, best record in all of Black College football at Division I level, and the sky's the limit. Again, joining the great conference in the SWAC, look forward to a lot of great matchups. But again, I don't think there's a school that can offer this combination of getting a great quality education and playing a great brand of football than you can receive at Florida A&M.
All right, I've taken up enough time with my rapid fire. I'm going to give it over to Charles, then followed by Mike.
Yeah, Coach Simmons, and I wanted to ask this question in terms of what type of SWAC do you think you're coming back to? And I ask it from the standpoint of Alcorn obviously had their fights with North Carolina A&T, and when we think of the MEAC, we think of a physical conference, a run-heavy conference. But do you think that the Southwestern Athletic Conference has mimicked some of the things that maybe that you guys do very well over in the MEAC?
Well, the one thing I think that the MEAC SWAC Challenge or SWAC MEAC Challenge, however you choose to say it, and the Celebration Bowl has done is that it's pitted a lot of those cross-conference matchups. And so, teams from the MEAC now have the scout teams from the SWAC and vice versa. And so you'll see a lot of similarities. Obviously, the MEAC is right now probably a conference geared more towards interior line play on offensive and defensive side of the ball, whereas the SWAC is more played on the perimeter. And so you look at our blueprint of who we are, where we are. We're speed, we're spread offense, we're speed defense. So our style of play will mesh well in the SWAC, and looking forward to going up against some challenging defense and also other explosive offenses that can put up points in bunches. So, but our blueprint really, I think, matches up well with the schemes that we'll see in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
And I do have to say, Coach Simmons, the delegation from Jackson is more than happy to welcome you back, and there's museums in Jackson as well. So.
No question about it. Looking forward to seeing them.
All right, Mike, the floor is yours with your question.
Yeah, Coach Simmons, Charles actually kind of took my question. That was a great question, but to piggyback on his second comment, we would welcome you back to the Panther Den, and we'd love to have you. Of course, you'll be on the other side of the sideline, but we'd be happy to welcome you. So along the lines with style of play, we look at offenses and defenses and seeing switches and, just really kind of tease off on Charles's question. Do you see the continued advent of, the spread offense, which seems to be, the predominant offense in the SWAC as well? Do you see the proliferation of that, or do you see more of a balance between run and pass as you transition to the SWAC, or do you see that your offensive scheme changing? I know that kind of tease on Charles a little bit, but it's kind of got a different spin to it.
I kind of lost your last part, Mike, about when you said balance between run and pass. I kind of lost you after that.
Yeah, I said you look at the balance, the proliferation of kind of the spread offense in the SWAC. Do you see that? Do you see your style kind of mimicking that specifically, going to a more of a spread offense, pass heavy, or more of a balance between the run and the pass, just because you're moving to the SWAC?
I think as you see the transformation of football in general, it's an adverse relationship. Well, typically you would think it goes from the top down, from the NFL down to college, from college to high school. It's actually in reverse. So what happens is a lot of the young men that we recruit now out of high school come from spread offenses. And so now we've had to adapt to that as coaches in the college profession, and now a lot of us are becoming more of a quote-unquote spread offense. You look at the NFL now, a lot of the guys that they're drafting out of college now are in spread offenses. So what do you see the NFL do? They're starting to go more to a spread style. So I think you'll continue to see that. Again, the run-pass ratio is philosophical. I think you have your guys who want to be balanced, who want to be 50-50. Now, that's kind of where we are. We want to be somewhere down the middle. You have your guys who don't mind throwing it around 65, 70 times a game, and you have your guys who want to try to run it for 200, 300 yards. So I think you'll still see spread offenses continue to grow, but the style of spread offense that you'll see will be continued on the philosophies and the recruiting efforts of the various programs that employ those type of schemes.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach, I don't know if you caught or you pay attention to preseason polls and preseason All-American things, but Florida A&M was, I forgot, one of the organizations in the FCS ranked FAMU preseason.
That was Hero Sports.
In their preseason poll. I wasn't going to give them any acknowledgement, AD, but that's okay.
My bad.
That's all right. But also in terms of preseason All-Americans as well, I believe Chris Fadul, Xavier Smith, as well as Keenan Forbes were recognized. I was a little surprised there weren't any other FAMU players, but when you think about those kind of things, if other people, I'm sure, may be asking, were there any guys, any preseason players returning that probably should be on people's watch list?
Well, all three of those guys have definitely earned the right to garner those type of accolades. Obviously, Chris Fadul has led the nation in punting in 2018 and finished second in 2019. Xavier Smith went over the 1,000-yard mark last year, was one of the top 10 receivers in the country, and Keenan Forbes, was our best offensive lineman for an offense that threw for almost 300 yards a game. Marquise Bell is a guy that I was surprised didn't receive those type of preseason accolades. He was the first team all-conference safety defensive back last year, one of the top interception guys in the conference, and that's not even what he's known for. He's known for his physicality and style of play. So actually, one of the guys that I guess service that you don't want to name, I reached out to and even asked him, about Marquise and why he wasn't on the team, and he said he was close to putting them on it, but. We have some really good football players here. We have some young men who are putting in a lot of good work, and I think you'll see that reflect on the field this year. The quarterback competition is really steep with Rashawn McKay, who's the incumbent after being Ryan's backup the last 2 years, and then John Holcomb, the transfer out of Kansas State, who's from right there in Houston. Obviously, I know Dr. Cavil and all those guys will remember that name. So looking forward to seeing what those guys can do to lead this offense, and we feel like we have a lot of great skilled guys on both sides of the ball, and we did a great job in recruiting at the 10th graded class in the country, and so looking forward to seeing it put it all together and how this 2020 team will look compared to teams in the past.
And and as we get ready to close out, Coach, again, want to thank you for your time. I did want to mention, I got to plug your Twitter feed at HC Willie Simmons on Twitter. You have been definitely one of the coaches who I think you have been very honest in your feelings on a couple of subjects over the past week. And I wanted to give you just an opportunity, even as not only just yourself, but some of your players. I've been really encouraged seeing some of the strong opinions and comments from your players and just their thoughts on how they see things. And a lot of talk back and forth about college coaches, college football coaches in particular, caring and showing care and concern for their athletes. And I just wanted to give you the final moment here to kind of talk about how you express your care and concern, not just for your players, but just everything that's going on in our society right now.
Well, definitely. And first, let me give a huge shout out to Dr. Cavil and his crew for having me on their show earlier this week to talk about some of these social issues. And I think it's something that continues to be at the forefront, and definitely this conversation needs to continue. I truly believe we're change agents as college coaches, as student athletes. We're some of the most influential individuals in the country. Everyone knows how much we love college football. Everyone's looking forward to seeing football played this Saturday. And so I think it's our duty to use that platform for good. There are a lot of things that are going on nationally that, frankly, we should all be upset about, and that we should all feel a certain way about. And so I want to make sure I use the platform that I've been given by the grace of God to be a person of influence that a lot of people want to hear from on various issues. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to push the envelope. I'm going to continue to challenge my peers, white and black, and of other ethnicities, to speak up and to really continue to have those tough discussions, those uncomfortable conversations with our players, with our constituents, our fan base, our administrations, and America in general, until we can make positive change. And so I think that's our civic duty. And I'm just honored to be able to be a leading voice, and hopefully my voice over the last few weeks have inspired others to step up and do a little bit more, so that we can all realize the America that we all dream about. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Coach. And again, on Twitter, that's at HC Willie Simmons on Twitter. Coach, it's been a great day. We're going to let you go. I know you got a busy day. It's been a busy day. We thank you for your time. Not only do we thank Coach Simmons, but we also have to say thank you to to Colonel Greg Clark, the president of the FAMU National Alumni Association, AD, athletic director Kortne Gosha, and everything he did, and of course the SWAC Commissioner Dr. Charles McClelland. All of them joining us on this historic day, not only in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but for Florida A&M University as well, as Florida A&M University becomes the 11th member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and definitely in 2021, the landscape of Black college athletics, and especially football, will change, as not only FAMU but North Carolina A&T will both be leaving the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference in 1 year's time. We want to thank you. All of you have been watching us on Facebook. You've been watching us on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to make sure you follow everyone on Twitter here. Make sure you follow Dr. Cavil. Make sure to follow him at Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Cavil. Make sure to follow Charles Bishop at Charles BISH 1953. And then, of course, make sure to find Mike Washington at Mike Wash 88. That's where you can find him. And then, of course, from the Black College Sports Network, my partner AD Drew at BCSN Drew. You can find me at DRB365. Kofi Hemingway. Kofi, where are you at on Twitter and all that good stuff, buddy?
I'm at Desir on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook under Kofi Hemingway. So it's pretty much H5 Global on Instagram.
All right, sounds good. And, of course, I want to remind you, you can find the Black College Sports Network at MyBCSN1 on Periscope, Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. This has been an outstanding show. Doc, I'll give you the last word. Any final thoughts here as we get ready to close out this show?
Thank you. Just wanted to say to everybody, this is a tremendous undertaking. We want to say both thank you to the fans out there that support us, and the only way that we can survive is that you all tell us that you have this interest. And so we decided to partner in regards to how do we make things better and give you the information you need. And so with the collaboration, we were able to get various components of Florida A&M University. Obviously, the National Alumni Association President Colonel Clark was able to give us on there. We got the Commissioner, Dr. Charles McClelland. We got the VP of Athletics, Kortne Gosha. And we will continue to bring and give you more individuals in terms of finding the information that you want and deserve on HBCUs, namely in this area, the SWAC, Southwestern Athletic Conference. But if you want this, please understand that we need your support, and you can support us by continuing to follow us. You can support us financially, finding a way to contact Roy Evans, me directly, Cash App. We greatly appreciate their support. We will continue to find ways to give you this information, but that support is necessary for us to grow and do the dynamic things that you see us doing today. And as you see, if you're a supporter of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, things are changing, and they're changing fast. And the only way they're going to change supporting them by out there talking positive about your institutions in such a way that we enrolling students for this upcoming fall and years to come. Thank you for the time, and thank you for this partnership.
All right. Again, shout out to our producer, Roy Evans, for helping to put all this together and bring all these folks into this space. Make sure if you're, again, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things that you need to do to make sure you stay abreast of all the things that are happening with Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab, as well as the BCSN SportsWrap and the Black College Sports Network. All right, here for Kofi Hemingway, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, and AD Drew, I am Brian Fulford. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for watching our show, and congratulations to Florida A&M, and congratulations to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Good night, everybody.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God